Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good evening right now. So my name is Muhammad HAKIM ASRI. I'm from Group 2, and me and my friend will present about our mini research entitled of the impact of low socio-economic background on child educational achievement. Alright, so my name is LUQMAN Muhammad HAKIM ASRI, and I will I will explain and I will present about chapter 1. So, chapter 1 that start with introduction. For this research, we focus on effect of the low socio-economic background on secondary students schooling in a rural Sabah district. So as we know, we want to investigate the socio-economic background, and the place that we have been choose is Sabah district. Okay, and then sample we take only 50 child parents pair that age from 13 to 18 years old. And then our method for this research is quantitative survey that consists of question on resources, attendance, and parental supports. So for this background research, our socioeconomics backgrounds includes household income, family size, parental support, access to learning resources. As we can know, household income it can be varies, family size also it can be varies, parental support, is it the parents support the children to study or not, access to learning resources. And then we go to study sites, we take rural district in Sabah with known dropout and infrastructure issues. So we take that school in Sabah that already have this issue to investigate how or why they drop out. And then the key measures, we have textbook access, school facilities, attendance, family pressures to miss school. As we know, family pressures right now, we can see that it's one of the main factor that can affect the education of the students. Headline findings in our samples, as we can see, in our sample, we can see that our 44% earns household income is earned from 1,000 to 3,000, and 32% earn less than 1,000 ringgit. And then resource attendant gaps, 32% have no proper textbook, 36% have inadequate facilities, that such as there's no complete facilities, modern facilities in lab, computer lab, physics labs, science lab, and so on. And then 60% are not in school, even though, and 26% asked to skip school for works. As we can say, as we know that family size that can contribute to the during our economic, we need to everyone work to make money to survive in this world. Sometimes parents ask students to skip the school to support the family too. Okay, so our aim for this research are to investigate how low socio-economic background affect children educational achievement in a rural Sabah district. And then our objective, measure links between income, family size, resources, for example, textbook, facilities, and school participation and retention that age from 13 to 18 years old. And then second, identify parental financial and emotional support related to schoolings and aspiration. And then third, assess whether lack of resources, facilities relate to high dropout or irregular attendance. Uh, and then our last objective is propose practical policy recommendation to reduce socio-economic barrier. So this is our 4 objective to run this mini research. And then our statement of the problem, as we can see, national scheme, for example, we have SPBT, scheme pinjaman buku teks. Scheme pinjaman buku teks already exists, but the students say they doesn't have proper textbook to study. But material and structure gap remain in some rural Sabah district. And then the sample show persistent shortage and attendance problem. For example, textbook, facilities, dropout, family work demand to survive in this world. And then this gap risks unequal participation and long-term negative outcome. This gap can persuade can persuade or motivate student to not to continue study. Better you go to works. And then study aims to document relationship and suggest actionable fixes. So we go to research question and hypothesis. And then so we have two questions for this research. First one is, how does a child low in socio-economic background affect educational achievement? Hmm. How SAB can affect educational achievement? And then second, how does constrained educational access affect a child by psychology? For example, if he doesn't have a proper classroom condition, how it can affect the student psychology? Alright, so for our main hypothesis, children from lower socioeconomic background, for example, if you have lower income and then large family size, we have lack of textbook, poor facilities, show lower school participation and achievement than peers from higher socio-economic background. What is meant by higher socio-economic background is a vice versa from lower SAB, which means that lower income for higher SAB we have higher income, small family size, we have proper facilities, we have parental support. And then in this research, we also can see that definition of key terms. What is mean by repetition of the terms that we will repeat one after another. So right now we have socio-economic background, SAB. That's mean SAB. What is SAB? Household monthly income, family size, learning resources, textbook. And then we have educational achievement. What is mean by that? Proceed by continued school attendance, dropout, and availability of the academic supports. And the rural district, what is mean by rural district in this research? We mentioned that it is the Sabah district sample chosen for higher dropout and infrastructure issues. And then we will also repetitive mention about SPBT. That means Malaysian Textbook Loan Scheme, contact for textbook availability. And then when it comes to delimitation of this research, our focus is secondary student aged from 13 to 18 years old and their parents in one rural Sabah district. And then the instrument that we use are 12 item questionnaire from Part A that consists of scheduled question, 7 items. Part B, parents question, 5 items. And then our outcome, attendance, resource availability, parental support. There is no direct test score used. We only just we don't we don't set or we don't take grade or exam marks for this research. Okay, so our limitation for this research are we continue our research with a small sample. We just only take 15 children, parents pair to answer the question. Limit set, and then it become limits, and then the statistical power and generalizability is lower. And then we doesn't include no standardized academic score. Achievement only by attendance and resources. And then we have self-report bias. For example, if we have sensitive item question, income, dropout, and then maybe under or over reported. Maybe when the question that have been asked to the student and parents, maybe some of them doesn't answer honestly, and then some of them will answer based on their emotion. And then translation, interpretation issue despite the validation. So right now our questionnaire we are giving to the Sabah people. And then the questionnaire originally come from English person. So we afraid of the limitation that comes if is the improper translation. And then we have cross-sectional design cannot prove causation. So move on to the assumption. Assumption for the researchers are respondent answer honestly and to the best of their knowledge. That means respondent will answer the question with honesty, and then the adapted Vivadel 2023 questionnaire is suitable after translation and validation. After translate and validate, we can assume that these questions are good to do, and good to continue for our research. And then treating children pair as the analysis unit reasonably capture household influence. And then last but not least, for my part, chapter 1, the justification of the research. So, first of all, is rural. What it mean? Low income children still face higher risk of non-attendance despite national program. We have a lot of government action, national program, SPBT, RMK, eh? And then is it enough national program that can affect the attendance of the students? And then we have local primary data document, current gaps in textbook, facilities and attendance. And then finding this will help district level resource allocation and targeted intervention. And then in this research, we can help the authority to improve, to focus on what that need to be helped, what the main thing that we need to help people, surrounding people in Sabah. And then result provide practical policy relevant recommendation for improving educational equity. Okay, so I think that's all for my part. We continue to chapter 2 with my friends. Okay, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nadia, and today I will be presenting Chapter 3, Methodology for our mini research entitled The Impact of Low Socioeconomic Background Towards Child's Educational Achievement at Rural District in Sabah. Okay, so first and foremost, let's go through the introduction. So this study aimed to investigate the impact of low socioeconomic background towards child's educational achievement at rural district in Sabah, and we chose Tambunan district. Okay, so the central research question addressed was whether low socioeconomic background influences the educational achievement among children in rural area. Okay, so next one is the research design. Okay, so for the research design, a quantitative analysis was conducted to understand the impact of socioeconomic background of a child on educational achievement and how low education impacts a child's psychology. So a questionnaire which was created by Biwadel et al. In 2023 was utilized for this research. So the questionnaire actually consists of two parts, which are part A and part B. So part A was for the children, which consists of 7 questions, and part B was for the parents, which consists of 5 questions. So overall, the questionnaire consisted of 12 questions. Alright, so next one is for the participants. So we chose a total of 50 participants using random sampling technique. So each participant consisted of a child and a parent who were treated as a single unit or a single respondent in the study. So the respondents was residents of a rural district in Sabah, and they were chosen due to the significant educational challenges faced by children from families living below or near the poverty line. So actually, according to the STAR in 2024, national and Sabah-specific educational data can be difficult to compare, but overall, national dropout rates have declined. Okay, however, dropout rates in rural secondary schools, especially in Sabah, remain significantly higher than the national average, okay, which is 4.67% compared to 3.13% in other rural areas. So the main contributing factors for this issue includes poverty, poor infrastructure, and long distances between homes and schools. So government actually undergo a lot of initiative in order to help these children, and one of the initiative was Sekolah Bimbingan Jalinan Kasih (SBJK), which aimed to re-engage children who have dropped out of school. Okay, so two methods were used to distribute the questionnaire. For the children, we mainly use Google Forms. However, because of some parents were unfamiliar with online forms, the research correspondents or the researchers personally met them to assist with completing the questionnaire, which is through face-to-face session. So all participants completed the forms with guidance from the researcher whenever it is necessary. So the children involved in the study were between 13 to 18 years old, and the distribution of gender consists of 56% from female and 44% male respondents. So the participation was 100% voluntary, and this study ensures participant confidentiality and no identifying information such as names, contact details, or personal data will be collected. Okay, so all responses are anonymous and will be analyzed only for research purposes. The qualitative data were collected using questionnaire, which consisted of Part A and Part B, where Part A consists of 7 questions and Part B consists of 5 questions. Okay, so the question in the sets were meant to be get information about the participants in terms of their socio-economic backgrounds. Okay, so for your information, the questionnaire was translated into Bahasa Melayu, taking into account that the first language spoken by the people in the district is Bahasa Melayu, and some of the parents were not very fluent in English. So the translation and validation was done by language teachers from MRSM Transkrian Nibong Tebal Pulau Pinang, and the questionnaire was distributed in dual language. So that's all from me for Chapter 3 Methodology. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Okay, for my part, I will present about the results. As you know, my group 1, is actually about the impact of low socioeconomic background on child's educational achievement. So for the overview of findings, there are 50 respondents, which is 50 children and their parents, treated as one entity, and the gender distributions is about 28 girls and 22 boys. So the percentage is about 55%, 56% for female and 44% for male. And the age range for the children is actually within 13 to 18 years. So this is the adolescent for the secondary school, and the data collected through questionnaires, and there are 2 parts, which is part A for the children and part B is for the parents. Next. So for the age distributions of respondents, there are most respondents aged 16 years is almost for 11 students, and then 10 students is in 14 and 17 years, 10 each, and others there are 9 students for 15 years old, 6 students 13 years old, and 4 students 18 years old. So this is represents typical secondary school age group. So for the family size, in terms of the family size, as you can see, how I present this. Okay, basically, if you can see in the figure 3, number of family members, the majority came from medium to large size families. So for the 4 or 5 family members, there are 9 respondents each. You can see in this chart, and then 6 members, 7 respondents, 7 or 8 members, 6 respondents each, and 9 or 11 members for respondents each. So the larger families are common in rural or remote areas. This also can be shown in the citation, which is Department of Statistics Malaysia in 2022. And the availability of textbook in the questionnaire also the question about did the children have proper textbooks. So this is the results for the number of children having proper or fewer textbooks. There are 68%, 34 respondents had proper textbooks. Meanwhile, 32%, 16 respondents did not. So textbook provided through SPBT, Scheme Pinjaman Buku Teks by the Ministry of Education Malaysia 2023. So this actually lack of textbook may result from the financial instability and also poor home learning environment and inefficient management of materials. Noor and Hashim 2020. Next. So for the school facilities and school attendance, as you can see in figure 5, number of students saying their school has adequate or inadequate facilities. So there are 64% reported their schools had adequate facilities, but 36% reported they doesn't have adequate facilities. So this positive result linked to rural transformation program. As you know that RTP program is actually by the state, as they give some facilities from the DUN, especially for examples in Sabah, and also in terms of Malaysia Education Blueprint 2013 until 2035. So these government efforts include science labs, libraries, and better internet access, as you can see in the Ministry of Education Malaysia 2023. So this result show proof that government have their effort to include these adequate facilities. And for the school attendance, okay, one of the questionnaires said, ask the students, are you currently in schools? As we know that this research has been undergone in the rural areas in Sabah. So 84%, 42 students still in school, but unfortunately there are 16% which is ex-students no longer attending. So these dropouts may possibly due to financial issues, accessibility challenge, and low motivation and socioeconomic pressures. Okay, next for this slide, which is parental request to skip school. As you can see in this figure 7, there are 74%, 37 respondent parents did not ask them to skip school, because in this questionnaire, when asked whether their parents had ever told them to take leave from school to help with housework, so 74% said no, and the other 26%, which is 13 respondents, tell parents ask them to help at home or with family from work. So this reflects economic necessity and rural family responsibility, as in many rural or remote areas, families often depend on children to assist with household tasks, farming, or small-scale family business, especially when parents have limited income. So this is basically can affect to children also when they skip school. And in figure 8, this is the number of children who are still studying for each family. So as you can see, there are 32%, which is 16 respondents, have one child, which is well, and 32%, 16 respondents have two children, 26% 3 children, 13 respondents, and 10% 5 respondents for 4 children. So this indicates strong parental support for continuing education despite economic challenge. Oh, for addition, for the number of children still studying is actually is a parents data, which is the part B, as we ask this questionnaire to the parents. So we want to know about the tanggungan, the number of children still studying. So after that, we ask also the parents about the household income. As you can see, in these 50 respondents, as the parents are also the entity. Below 1,000 is about 32%, which is 16 respondents, while 1,000 to 3,000 ringgit is 22 respondents, which is 44%. So this is indicates the P40 group. And 3,000 to 6,000 ringgit, there are 10 respondents, which is 20%. And above 6,000, 2 respondents, only 4%. So, majority from the low socioeconomic backgrounds. So, this also could affecting access to learning resources. So, basically, low socioeconomic is actually can affect the child's educational achievement in terms of this research. Next, so for the parental support, as you can see, there are questions that being asked to the parents. Do you want your child to continue their education? Adakah anda mahu anak anda meneruskan pelajaran ke peringkat yang lebih tinggi? So all the parents said they want yes, say yes. 100% of parents support their children financially and emotionally. For example, for the question 5, will education give you a better future for your child? Adakah anda percaya bahawa pendidikan akan memberikan masa depan yang lebih baik untuk anak? And basically, all the parents say yes. 100% of parents support their children financially and emotionally. So this reflects shared belief in education's importance regardless of income. So this education seen as a pathway out of poverty, such as for the low-income families. So the way to maintain status higher income families. So this result is actually aligns with Malaysian education blueprint 2013 until 2025, emphasizing education for national progress. So, for the summary of findings, most respondents are actually from B40 or low-income families, as you know that we did the research in the rural areas. So, majority of students still attend school and have access to textbook. So, the government's really help initiative helps, but resource gaps remains. So, these parents highly value education despite financial challenge. So basically the financial challenge may affect the children's in terms of textbook or going to school, but the motivation or the value for the parents about the importance of education is very, very good. As they said, it is very important to have education. So these findings highlight the link between socioeconomic background and educational access. So these results may link to each other to, as we can see, the link between the socio-economic background and educational access. So that's all from me.
Okay, next we move to the chapter 5, 5.0, which is discussion. Okay, for the first one, we move to the demographic characteristic and educational context, which from the result of the observation of the many research, most came from the medium to large families. Okay, so the family size data reveal large proportion of the respondent came from medium to large, which is 4 to 8 members in families. So according to Bourdieu's 1986 The Theory of Cultural Capitals, larger family size in low-income households may dilute the available of economic, cultural, and social resources for each children. So this condition often leads to educational disparities as children from larger families receive less individualized attention and fewer educational material at home. Okay, next we move to the socio-economic status and textbook availability and school facilities. Okay, the result revealed that 66% of students had proper textbook, while another 32% did not. Although SPBT, which is Malaysia Textbook Loan Scheme, provide free learning material, but some of students, also about 32%, did not get the textbook. So let the textbook among the student indicate management or access challenges in remote area. Okay, the third one, we have school facilities and school attendance. Okay, so about 64% of respondents state that their school had adequate facility, but about 36% disagree. So at the same time, from this problem, 16% of students were found to have dropped out or were not attending school. The data suggests that the quality of school facilities may influence students' willingness to continue schooling. Okay, the fourth one, we have family size and parental income. So as family size examined alongside parental income, larger family to fall within the lower income bracket, which is this suggests a negative relationship between family size and financial capacity, where households with more children often to experience tighter economic constraint. Okay, next we have parental instruction to skip school and income, meaning that the data reveal for approximately 26% of respondents reported being asked by their parent to skip school in order to assist with housework or family occupation. This trend was notably more prevalent among families from low-income group, indicate that economic hardship directly influence students' school attendance. Okay, so the last one, income and parental educational aspiration, which is all parent, 100% parent reported, providing emotional and financial support for their children's education and express a strong desire for them to continue study. Okay, so according to mid 1934 symbolic interactionist, this parental belief plays a crucial role in shaping children's self-concept and motivation. When parents express confidence in education, children internalize these positive attitudes, fostering persistence in schooling. Okay, so that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good day to our beloved Madam Muni and also my fellow friends. For my part, I will explain about the conclusions, the recommendations, and also the implication. First of all, I will explain about the conclusions. So there are two key takeaways that we need to take into account for these conclusions. So the first main finding is the socio-economic background remains the key determinant of educational access and experience for children in remote areas of Malaysia. The other one is inequalities persist due to the limited family incomes, geographic isolations, and larger household sizes despite government effort. And for the second main finding that we need to take into account is this aligns with the theories from BUSU and also Bowles and Gintis, both from 1986. BUSU from 1986, Bowles and Gintis is from 1976, which shows the structural inequalities and differences in cultural capital placed children from poor families at a disadvantage even when they are hold similar aspirations. So, for the overall summary, however, the study finds strong parental belief in education offers optimism. This means this emotional and cultural capitals is crucial for sustaining a child motivations and participations, demonstrating that while poverty limits opportunities, strong family support makes a significant difference. That's for the conclusions. Recommendations. There are several recommendations that we need to take into account. The first one is strengthen resource distributions and accessibility. So for these recommendations, we need to enhance the scheme pinjaman buku teks SPBT to include digital learning materials. So the second one is conduct regular audits to ensure fair access to textbooks and facilities in remote school. The second point is enhance parental and community engagement. So we need to establish parent-teacher partnership programs and community learning initiatives. We also need to aim to build social capital like Coleman 1988 mentions and improve student motivation through strong homeschool collaborations. The third recommendation we need to take into account is the expand financial aid for low-income families, which means we address financial barriers by expanding targeted assistance for B40 household. For the example is cash transfer, food aid, and transport subsidies. So the fourth recommendation is the implement teacher training for equity. So for this recommendation, we need to offer specialized training for teachers in rural areas focused on inclusive pedagogy and also cultural sensitivity. This aligns with UNESCO 2021 call for teachers to be active agent for equity. Last but not least is the bridge digital and infrastructure gaps. So this means we continue to expanding internet connectivity and digital learning access. Then we leverage national initiatives like the Rural Transformation Program, we call it RTP, and the My Digital Blueprint 2021 to 2030. This is to ensure that equal opportunities. So there are 5 recommendations we need to take into account. You can try it. So for the implication, there are implication for the future research. So this is especially the application for the next step in research. So there are 3 we need to take into account. First is utilize mixed method. It means that we combine quantitative data with qualitative interviews to capture students and parent lived experiences. The second one is we conduct comparative studies, which means that a comparison between urban and rural contexts, which can further reveal how families, structure and resource access specifically affect student motivation. Last but not least is explore innovative strategies, which means we investigate digital and gamified learning approaches to enhance engagement, particularly among low socioeconomic status LSES students. So I think that is all for our group. So thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.